Are you a person that feels like you kind of stuck on the hamster wheel of life? And what I mean by that is you have a whole lot of movement, but not a lot of progression. You're very, very busy, but you're just not really reaching your goals. You stay tired, but nothing is really happening. You're stuck. Today's episode is for you. We're going to show you what the problem is, but more importantly, how to get out of it. It's going to be good on today's episode of The Certified Man. Welcome once again to The Certified Man. My name is KD Bowe. I am the founder of Man Up Community. This dude right here.
I'm Derwin Davis. Listen, it's my life mission to help people win in life. I'm the pastor of Reach Church over in Lithonia, Georgia, and I'm excited to be here with my brother, KD.
So we hung out this weekend. We had a chance to connect with my boy, Ricky Brown. Mm-hmm. All right, we call him Rick Brown. He wrote this book, 5 Hazardous Attitudes.
Yes.
And it's incredible. So shout out to you, Rick. Go get that book, 5 Hazardous Attitudes. It is really good. But he suggested another book by Will Mancini called Church Unique.
Yeah.
So Will, check this out, bro. He made this statement in the book. And this is the quote that we're going to rock with today. He said, "The reality is that most people don't think. They only rearrange their prejudices."
Wow.
You feel me? Real thinking can be disruptive to the status quo. And here's the part I'm going to lean in a little bit. And requires a great deal of courage. How the hell does thinking require courage? I got some thoughts. What you think?
I think thinking requires courage because as you get new information and you're thinking, it causes you to evaluate previous thoughts and the willingness to say, you know what? That may not have been a great thought or to reorganize certain things that have been there before.
Yeah.
And so it takes courage to take in new information because new information can cause you to evaluate what you thought was gold.
Yeah.
Is now, that's not valuable. What you thought was law, you realize that's actually foolishness.
And nobody likes to be told that they're wrong. Not even you telling yourself that you're wrong.
And that's what thinking, and growing allows you to say and look back at yourself and other situations and be like, you know what, that was a better way.
Bro, most people are stuck on what we said earlier, the hamster wheel. The hamster wheel, we're stuck because, think about it. When you're looking at YouTube, it only suggests stuff that you've already been watching.
That's true. It's an algorithm.
When you're watching Netflix, it only suggests stuff that you've already been watching.
Yeah.
So there's nothing new. So when Will Mancini said that it's just a regurgitation or recycling of prejudices, that's exactly what he meant. And it takes courage to, number one, go against the status quo, but it takes courage to think, because when I think about when I was a kid,
wow,
I was a gifted kid. I was in the academically gifted programs and what have you, and no disrespect to my family. Y'all was smart too on y'all level though. y'all level.
You being petty.
Yeah, I know. But I remember, bro, having conversations with my brothers and my cousins and what have you, and the looks that I would get from them, because I was a big thinker. I always considered another perspective. I always said, well, what if you could fly? What if you could? Or what would happen if? And they would look at me like I'm crazy. But what I remember from that is the feeling that I had of feeling on the outside of community. So I get why people do everything they can to fit in.
Wow.
Because we have a longing and a desire for community and belonging. However, when you are a thinker and you step outside of something, you have to actually walk up to somebody and say, oh, there's probably a better way of that. You risk being shunned. You risk somebody telling you, yo, bro, I don't really want you to be with us. So what do? We shun the courage and we say, yeah, I just want to be a part. So I'll just swallow what I'm thinking, or I'll swallow that. But in order for us to be able to disrupt the status quo, what status quo? The status quo in our lives, in our businesses, in our relationships, with our money, with our families, ourselves, our generations to come. You got to have the courage to think differently and be able to break those status quos and get something that you never had before.
You know, we are the sum total of our thoughts.
Yep.
Thoughts is, you know, there's a book by Napoleon Hill, Think and Grow Rich.
That's right, bro.
The Bible tells us, as a man thinks in his heart,
So is he.
so is he. So our thinking is directly connected to our conditions and quality of life. Therefore, we have to be willing to have the courage to actually look at this and say, you know what? Where I am is based off what's going on in this factory.
Yes.
And that's a huge awakening.
And it's embracing that and knowing that to be truth. That's not opinion. Where you are is based on the kinds of thinking patterns that you've had that's got you locked into the place where you are. That's your friends. That's the money. That's all of that stuff. So in order to have more, you got to do what?
Become more.
You got to become more.
Right.
In order for you to become more, you got to open yourself up to more experiences that you have not had before that can open your brain up, that can open your thinking pattern.
Why is it hard for us to do that?
We have a fear of the unknown, bro. We have a natural fear of the unknown.
Yeah.
I don't know. It's like what Dr. Cola said last week. The deep work, it's some stuff over there. A lot of people don't want to do that deep work. Why? Because I don't know what's in there.
Wow.
I don't know what I'm going to see. I don't know what that may trigger. This is not the greatest, my situation, but it ain't necessarily the most terrible either. I can be okay. And so, yeah, they don't want to think, we, myself included, don't want to think in ways that's going to cause us uncomfortability. We don't want to be uncomfortable, bro.
I never even thought about the levels that thinking and being open to new thoughts causes us to be uncomfortable and actually an agonizing pain. It's a growing pain.
Because when you think differently, you have to look at those same situations that you previously gave an opinion to.
That's it.
And you have to tell yourself, perhaps I didn't get that all the way right this time. And you got to tell yourself something else that's more in line with the facts and more in line with the truth.
Yeah.
And that's tough because the relationships that we have with the things, the situations, the people, you got to tell yourself sometimes, yeah, mama loved me with her whole heart, but it was kind of low-key toxic.
Yeah.
Yeah, daddy left and what have you. But now that I really realize it, he did what he needed to do based on the information that he knew.
Right.
So it's not making excuses, but it's like putting yourself in a position to say, I wonder what else it could have been other than that. Oh, that's tough.
I wonder what else it could have been other than that.
Yes.
So, we're talking about this thinking and the fear that comes along with thinking new thoughts. I know, and I can speak for myself, being aware of fear is eye-opening because fear is false evidence is appearing real.
Tell me what you mean by that, being aware of fear.
As we're talking about new thoughts and new thinking, as I've been really transforming in my life, and you know my journey, losing the weight, going through a divorce, new relationship, pastoring, changing churches, new careers, making a lot of efforts that individuals would see as growth. The fear that has come along with what's behind this door. The fear that has happened as I have let this go. Who am I now? Because in essence, and a lot of things I shared it what I put my identity in.
Ooh. Okay, bro, you treading deep now, man.
Yeah, a lot of things that I shared, I end up shedding them because I put so much identity in them, and now I had to go back and look at those things and look at who am I.
Because the truth is, when you put your identity in, let's say a job.
Oh, man.
If for whatever reason that job is no longer there, now you got an identity what? crisis. You don't know who you are.
Right.
So you now have to be able to say, hey, if that job left and my value was attached to that job, what does that say about me?
Right.
And having to do a different level of thinking is tough because sometimes it is the thing that you do not want to hear. Bro, you don't qualify.
Right.
That was philanthropy that got you there.
Right.
Bro, you don't know it. That was a relationship that got you in there.
Right.
And being able to look at the tough stuff, as embarrassing as it is, as ugly as it can be, and be able to now make a decision based on where you are and with courage, make a decision to move forward in the way that you want to based on who you've chosen to be.
Yeah. And that's where it really gets into this area of thinking. And I am becoming aware of the historical negative thoughts that have been on play in my mind.
Yeah, aware of the fear, yeah.
Aware of that highlight reel, you know. And
so when it plays now, what do you do?
Oh, I'm having to really, the scripture says, cast down every vain imagination that exalts itself against the knowledge of Christ.
Yeah.
I had to take stuff captive. I mean, it's just, and some of that comes out of fear, some of that comes out of past pain, some of that comes out of experience. I have historically been a worst case scenario thinker. I don't feel safe until I know the worst case scenario, historically. So I have been a person historically that I'm going to play to the worst and build everything based off the worst.
What do you think?
Bo, you've known me for a while.
What do you think that is?
Oh, it's fear, it's trauma, it's pain, it's thinking from past events. I can't count on nobody but myself. Is let's take my home in McDonough. You know me. When we bought that house, qualified for more. But you've seen at times where it was a time in my life that the mortgage payment was a tithe of my income. And you knew I wasn't gonna move because if all hell break loose, I'm good. You know, I can go to Walmart and greet at the door and I'm gonna be all right. In some essence, there's some merit, but I didn't do frugality. I didn't invest the overage. I didn't do that. But that was a preparing for doomsday because my thinking was set to that thermostat that all hell is gonna break loose.
Yeah, bro. Wow, man. Wow. So what do you do now? Like when those thoughts come, like practically, you know, we're casting down the imagination and the thoughts. But what does that look like?
The complication that I think we're getting into now is I'm having to intake new information that challenges that old.
Okay, intake new information that challenges that old, and you get the new information from?
I get it from reading. I get it from exposure. I get it from asking myself the question, why, not how? Why, not what? Why, not when? Why am I doing this? Not what am I doing?
Bro, what's present to me is, we talked about this before. Let me drop this in. You said that you cannot solve a problem on the same level that it was created. No. So you know what you're saying? You grew to the level to become the person that could, in fact, solve the problem that was on that level.
And so here is the hard part now. It's going through life, watch this, and realizing some problems I have on level 8 is not a problem on level 7. It's a problem I didn't address on level 3.
Ooh.
Okay, boy. All right. I wasn't prepared for that one. No, seriously. Ooh. So now all of this is sitting on top of that. Yeah. And while I've had this success, and then so now I got to go back and do some deep root and some other archaeological finds to uncover these areas. You know, I used to say this when we would do Man Up Certifieds. I said, man, I felt like I was in life and I was a dog on a chain. That I would run and I go after all of a sudden for that chain to get caught and I can't run anymore. And I felt like every year I would run until one year something changed. And I realized every year it's like I got to lock in the combination.
Yeah.
But even in getting locked in the combination and getting free, I realized that even that thinking of worst case scenario has hindered me in so many equations.
Yeah. Yeah.
To now, like to deal with this worst case scenario thinking, it's going back to what? Child. I'm on floor 12 now, but I'm still playing worst case scenario. And I done made it through 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Well, where did that come in? It's going back to that deep work of I don't want to be disappointed. I only can count on myself. I don't want to be seen as a failure.
Yeah. Man, this is so good, bro, because you're talking archaeological now.
Oh, wow.
You're talking archaeological. Some things require you to do demolition.
Yeah.
What you're talking is archaeological. Demolition is you tearing something down to build up an image that you see. You're just not there yet, but it's there. But what happens when you are on level 12? But there are some things that you didn't deal with that was on level 3.
Mm-hmm.
The equipment used to do demolition ain't the same equipment used to do archaeological. So it deals with your feelings, it deals with your ego, the fragile part of it, and you have to give yourself, like Dr. Kohler said, you got to give yourself grace. Be patient with yourself and know that you're going to eventually get there.
Yeah.
But it's a brush.
Yeah.
It's a feather to be able to discover something that is already down there. And you know it's there.
And it's so valuable because then you know why.
Oh, man.
You get to go back, watch this. You get to go back in time and find the story. And when you get the story, you now know what. You know why. You know, I've been teaching at church about the trees. And sins of the father visit the third and fourth generation. And it's a simple analogy. If you hadn't seen it, there's a lot of stuff that's going to be out on YouTube. I feel like God has given me this message in this time.
Good stuff, bro.
That we are growing in our life with trees that's been planted by generations of individuals before us.
Yes.
In the garden, Adam ate the fruit, but no one ever told us what happened to the seed.
Yeah.
And it's plausible that these seeds have been planted. The enemy wants us to eat the fruit because he knows if we can get all of these seeds can grow and they end up in different generations. And so you're born into sin, shaping into iniquity, meaning you're born into a garden of weeds and things that are there. And so you have to be willing to go back to uncover these things as a generational approach to these are our trees, these are our issues. That's why when you go to the doctor, they want to know what's your family history because there's something that passed down along from that. To the point that when we can get our story, we now can understand that same thinking that we felt so shamed about, that same thinking that we felt so negative about, that same thinking that we felt so castrated about. And now we have an opportunity to know the root and the origin, and most importantly, who thinks about us differently and positively. And I say that to say this. We as humans often think negatively about ourselves. But one of the things that I'm loving as in my personal time in the Bible is seeing how God thinks about us.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I'm literally personally having to see, you know what? I've thought this way about me, but God thinks this way about me.
Yeah.
I've thought this way about me, I want enough. And I gotta perform. And if I don't do well, people ain't gonna like me. They ain't gonna love me. They ain't gonna show up for me. But God said, I'll never leave you and I'll never forsake you.
So what you're saying is that to get out of this hamster wheel and to get out of this rut and being stuck the way you think, those thoughts are not adjacent to how God thinks about you because God don't see you as stuck. God don't see you as, in a place where you're immobile. He sees you based on his original design for you.
Right.
So therefore, the first thing you have to do is find out what he originally thought about you.
Man.
On God. And I know we talk about God and, the spirituality of it and all, but another part is When I went to Africa for the first time,
man, I want to go. I'm going soon.
you're gonna go.
I'm going.
Yeah, we're gonna go again.
Yeah.
I went to Africa for the first time. Bro, people talk about how when you get off that plane and you put your foot on African soil, something happens. And I'm like, okay, cool. Woo woo, Bro, when I got off that plane, I set my foot, on my right foot or my left foot, on the ground in Africa, in Johannesburg, at that airport. And the overwhelming feeling, accompanied with goosebumps that hit me, was home. You're home. So something came over me when my natural physical body was reunited to the soil of the DNA from which I came. That space, something came over me. Mm-hmm. That was nothing I'd ever felt before. And I think what I'm saying today is that we have to align ourselves with the original design for us and move in that space.
Right.
Because that person is not a failure.
Right.
That person can't be beat. That person always wins.
Right.
It may look like it ain't a win.
Right.
But that person always wins.
I made a mistake, but I'm not a mistake.
I'm not a mistake.
I fail,
but I'm not a failure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I've had some losses,
but I'm not
a loser.
Yeah, bro.
That's and all of these circumstances can get in and start hitting us and start beating us over the head. Scripture, he gives us the helmet of salvation. Helmet. It's a breastplate of righteousness. It's a loin girded about with truth. It's a shield of faith. Feet shod with the gospel of preparation of peace. But the salvation, helmet, salvation. So there's something about how my head is protected and covered that allows me to walk in how God has allowed me to be saved by him.
See, bro, this is where, it just gets straight gospel, because this is who we are. But I can guarantee you this. If a brother that is listening to us is stuck in his head, can't really move, I guarantee you have believed the wrong message about you.
Let me tell you, I'm gonna be very, very transparent. Like when we hooked up this Sunday, my head was running. And Pastor is Ricky.
Yeah, Ricky Brown.
Man, he hit that HALT.
HALT, HALT.
Yes.
Yeah.
And it's like
hit him with it.
He looked at me and he said, man, you got to learn in life. And I don't even know how I got there. Because, I was half sleepy.
You was dozing like a mug for a minute.
But he said, man, it's all about HALT. Anytime, how some change your thinking, anytime you are hurting, H, A, angry. L, lonely. T, tired, it's not the moment for you to make any major decisions.
That's right. That's right.
That thinking and that new information comes in to whatever thoughts that have been there.
Yeah, man.
And says, you know what? This thought is there, but this is now new information. This is a new rubric that I now get to take that thought captive.
Yes.
And this whole week I've been, hurting. How many of us as men are hurting for some various reason or another?
Oh, God.
How many are angry for some various reason or another?
Yes.
How many are lonely for some various reason or other? How many are tired for some various reason or other? Yeah. What blessed me was not the thinking, am I hurting? Not the thinking, am I angry? Not the thinking that I'm lonely. Not the thinking that I'm tired. But why am I? Why digs deep? How, who, what is out?
Because this could happen to somebody else and it wasn't guaranteed to have the same result. Why is it affecting you that way?
Because it's now personalized. Why am I hurting?
Yeah.
Why am I angry?
Yeah.
Why am I lonely?
Yeah.
Why am I tired? This is an opportunity, because the HALT is, you can't control anything externally. So the HALT is not to stop anything, because how can you stop something else?
Yeah, man. HALT is internal.
Exactly. And that's what I got from it.
Yeah.
And what this has allowed is back to what we said. Your problems cannot be solved on the same level that they're created.
Yeah. And so it's about seeing yourself from a different vantage point.
Mm-hmm.
So today, what my prayer is that, bro, hear me well. You so close to the trees, you can't really see the forest.
Yeah.
You can't really see the big picture. But I'm telling you that when you unite your thoughts with God's thoughts about you, how you were never designed to be a loser,
Right.
Never designed to be in a place that is below, always above. That does something to your thinking. And you look at your situation, and now you're no longer looking up to that situation. You're not beaten down by it. Now you realize, oh, snap.
Right.
I'm better than this.
Right.
I'm bigger than this. I'm bolder than this. This is a temporary situation that all I ever needed to do was to raise my vantage point.
Right.
Think different thoughts. Think God's thoughts about it.
Right.
See it from his perspective. And this don't look as big as it did when I saw myself as a grasshopper. Nah, bro, I'm a giant.
Right. And so let's go back to this main thought. The courage to think differently.
Yeah.
We really got to get into a place that if we're not reading, whether it's your Bible or the books, you're not going to see different thoughts. You're not going to see different perspectives. I mean, the book that's blessing me right now is Boundaries.
Yeah, bro.
I've been reading Boundaries since January. But Boundaries is really Boundaries, a definition I've adopted, boundaries is the safety of the distance that's necessary for me to love myself and the other simultaneously.
Same time. Yep.
So if there's an area of not feeling loved, HALT, hurting, angry, lonely, tired.
Yeah.
Any of those areas, what's the boundary that's not in place with myself?
What boundary has been breached? Yep.
But see, if you don't get something of a new information, of a new pattern of thought, you can literally try to go about this and you're doing the same thing over and over again, which is insanity. Because if you're doing it wrong, but doing more wrong, don't fix it and make it right.
Yeah. And that's good too, bro. Like if I'm in a place where I feel stuck, it's the same thing. What boundary has been breached? What have I allowed in that's not congruent with who I actually am?
Right.
And what I'm actually called to do.
Right.
Find that. And then find your freedom.
Right.
Because there is something about a man that thinks clearly. Man, I'm going to tell you, one thing so when I visualize for myself, I visualize myself as this 65-year-old man. We've had this conversation before. 65 years old, fit, suave, smooth, gray beard, the whole nine, rich, like crazy. But one thing the thing that sticks out to me mostly is that guy is not moved. He ain't bothered. He's #unbothered. Like whenever I get into a situation where I want to argue, I think about him and I say, what would make him argue? Nothing. Nothing would make him argue. So when I go to my thinking, I say, that's who I'm going to become. I'm on my way to that. So why don't I start acting like it now?
Let not your heart be troubled.
You the preacher, you going to say it like you going to say it.
I mean, when you said that, what's going to bother him, I'm like, because to that old man to be steadfast, unmovable, always abounding.
Watch your tone. He's me and he ain't old. He's just 65. He's smooth with it.
I mean, you said these things. These are the scriptures that popped up in my mind. That popped up in my mind, and it's huge that we're saying this because I think that's something that's important. That if we're not putting in information that's going to pop up in our mind when this stuff comes, then it's going to take root.
Yeah,
we're grass people, man.
Yeah,
I never forget. You pulled up one day, you told me, man, if you treat the Bermuda right, it'll choke out everything else.
Mm-hmm. Oh, feed the good.
You know what I'm saying?
Yep.
And that's something that it's a grass principle, but it's something that is stuck with that if you feed with the right thoughts, with the right information, with checking it and admitting, you know what? This is a weed. This is a bad thought. And certain weeds, you got to pull that up. You can't put a spray out there.
Mm-hmm.
There's certain types of weeds that if you don't get on it, put your hands on it and snatch that out and say that it's not going to be there,
Mm-hmm.
you're going to always have these issues. And I think that's what's important for us to really get into a place of us really taking advantage of our thinking and saying, you know, what are we going to do deliberate as men to work on better thinking? What's some of the ways you think that we can do that?
Well, number one, man, is what I said earlier is being able to embrace a different perspective or a different definition of who you are. Because if you see yourself as a person who, this is just what we do, this is who I am. I mean, number one way to get out of that is change what you put in, bro. Because what you put in is what's going to come out.
Hold on. So what you just said, you just challenged, this is who I am, this is who I'm always going to be. A person being in that stage has now blocked, what I hear you say is has blocked themselves in.
Closed-minded.
To a negative thinking pattern.
Yep. They become a pond, not a river.
Ooh.
Yep. Everything that's in is in, everything that's out is out. But no, you got to be a river because today's successes don't necessarily mean tomorrow's successes. And so when you are a thinker, you'll be able to flow. Like when I left, I don't want to go down this road, but just a little bit. When I left radio for the purposes of not because it had dried up. I left because I saw the trends. I knew what God was showing me, and I knew it was time. It made it look crazy to other people, but I knew what God was saying to me. When you're a thinker, bro, you don't get caught behind enemy lines. You don't get caught with your pants down because as a thinker, you're thinking ahead. You're open as a river to God and other people and books and perspectives and what have you, your community, to give you new ideas and fresh perspectives and the whole nine. And so you move differently.
Man, so what I just heard you say is being open to think allows us to be open to receive and to release. That's why
you're the preacher.
Just it. When we're open in thinking, we can now release, we can also receive. If we're not open, we can't release, we can't receive.
Yeah.
So, brother, just like I'm just gonna be who I am, and this is what I've always been, and this is what I'm gonna do. And your brick wall, you're not gonna receive, you're not gonna release. What's something else, man?
And the other thing is this: know that you are not the thermometer. You really are the thermostat, and you can change if you know that you're the thermostat. The thermometer only reads the temperature of the room, the temperature of environments, the temperature of what's that. It can only read what's going on. But the thermostat can change it.
Set temperature.
What does that look like? It looks like this. All right, so you and I know this dude. I won't get into many details. He went home and he changed how he moved. He moved with the understanding that what I do causes everything. A ripple effect. Not just in my home, in my business, in the spiritual world. So he started moving like he was the thermostat. I'm gonna change the temperature. And if you know about a thermostat, it doesn't change immediately.
Yeah.
But if you realize you're the thermostat and the thermostat is working, eventually, if not immediately, eventually things begin to change. And that's what happened to him. And I'm saying to you, bro, you're the thermostat, bro.
Wow.
You're not the thermometer. If you know that, move like that. But here's what I said. I didn't say start doing stuff differently. I said start with the understanding of who you are. And when you know who you are and you embrace that, then you only do stuff that's in alignment with who you have chosen to be. Here's my question to you, bro. Who have you chosen to be?
Oh, wow.
Come on. Who have you chosen to be?
Wow.
Have you chosen to be the person that is stuck? I know you're stuck, but have you chosen that that's who you're going to be?
That statement is ringing such a loud bell right now because you said, who have you chosen to be. So many people have allowed society to make the choice.
They don't understand, man.
So many people have allowed their pain to make the choice, their past to make the choice.
And I know they're mitigating circumstances.
Right.
I understand all about the prison industrial complex. I understand all of that. And I'm not saying that none of that is true. However, at the end of the day,
yes, who have you
chosen? Because you can believe that system, or you can believe another system that says you're more than a conqueror.
Wow.
That you're the above and not beneath, the head and not the tail.
Wow. Man, there's so much on there because that's the one gift that God gave every human is the ability to have a choice.
Bro, okay, here we go. I feel this. In the beginning, God created the heavens and the earth.
Right.
How did he create the heavens and the earth? He spoke.
Right.
Let there be.
Yeah.
Out of the abundance of the heart,
the mouth speaks.
The mouth speaks.
Right.
So for us, bro, we have to be okay with speaking, like even when you get up in the morning, cognitively know who you are, who you want to be, where you're going, and speak that into existence and cause your words to be able to frame your world.
Yeah.
One of the ways that we don't get nothing is we don't say nothing, and the enemy knows that. So the thing is to lock us up.
Say it again.
One of the ways that the enemy really locks us up is to get us to get so frustrated that we just clench our jaws and we don't say nothing and we get quiet and we just seethe and we brood. No, open up your mouth. Say what you want. Say who you are. Say what God's word is and watch his word that comes from your thoughts, caught your mouth, hits the universe, hits the atmosphere and begins to make changes. But you can't do that when you're quiet. You can't do that when your mouth is shut. You got to open up your mouth. Hey, I'm the head and not the tail. No, there's a CEO in me. I know right now I'm on fries, but eventually I'm gonna be a cook. You know, McDowell's.
I know exactly.
So you got to speak it.
You the Prince of Zamunda.
Come on, bro. I'm the Prince of the Moon. I'm the Prince of Johns Creek.
Exactly.
I'm the Prince of 101 Marietta Street. I'm speaking not what I see.
Yeah.
Here, I'm speaking what I see here.
Right.
And that's how this thing comes into fruition. In the beginning, God said, let there be, and it was. So what are you saying? Because I can guarantee you, I'm tying everything that you see to what you have said.
What's amazing about this is all of these points have literally highlighted on us the importance of renewing a mind. Doing it over.
Yeah.
New. It has to be new. To renew, to refresh, to reboot.
Yeah.
That's a system and that's a process, especially as men, that we have to be more intentional about.
Yeah.
Because that's how we're transformed. Scripture says we're transformed by the renewing of our mind. And here's the thing that we started. We were talking about being on this hamster wheel on the circle. Well, you'll always be on the hamster wheel in a circle if you're not on the process of renewing.
Yeah.
And bringing something in that's new.
Yeah.
And so if you introduce something that's new and you redo that new, that's actually going to give you the traction that you're no longer repeating and recycling the same life.
Renew, respond, reflection. That is basically again. Okay?
Yeah.
I'm going to tell you something. When you renew your mind, the world will respond to you differently.
Yeah.
Because you are a different person.
Yeah. Yeah.
You understand what I'm saying?
Yes.
Okay, so let's keep it. No, we ain't talk very much relationships. Let's talk about it in the crib. Let's talk about it home. I mean, gotta talk about home, but I won't talk about it home.
Yeah.
When you become something different, when you renew your mind and you don't say the same stuff you've been saying, you don't move like you've been moving.
Yeah.
That's in alignment to what's been keeping you stuck.
Yeah.
When you switch that thing up, when you become the thermostat, everybody around you is going to respond to that, bro.
Has to.
God responds to us.
Right.
When our words are in alignment with what he said about us, when our actions are in alignment with what he says about us.
Yeah.
Bro, nothing is not going to respond to you when you change your thinking and put it in alignment to how God thinks about you and what God said about you.
Yeah.
Now this wasn't that kind of podcast, but I think it's very important for us to lean into this because some of this stuff, it ain't just like positive affirmations. Some of this stuff, no, bro, you listen, you got to get into the word, find your original design, live in that space, become that, and watch how this stuff change. Right. Otherwise, you're going to keep doing the same old stuff that you've been doing, and you're going to have the same old stuff that you've been having.
Simple.
Yeah, bro. So I want to encourage you, bro.
Yes.
You get stuck, and I know what it feels like to be stuck. There are times in which when I'm matriculated to another level, I still get stuck sometimes.
Yeah.
But I got to run that play all over again and remind myself, yo, that wasn't just some grunt work that you got to do just to get to this next level. No, this is life. I don't graduate to become a pond.
Right.
If a river got me here, hey man, the next thing might be an ocean. I don't know, or a sea. I don't know. All I'm saying is you got to remain open and you got to constantly renew your mind.
Yeah.
Think differently. What does that look like practically? Man, get some books.
Yeah.
Like I don't read a lot of books. I listen to them on Audible. I might get the workbook with certain things, and I do the study. I get around the kind of podcasts that feed me. And the truth is, some of the podcasts, they just make me feel good. But it ain't good for me.
Yeah.
And some of this stuff in the manosphere, man, this stuff is toxic and is very dangerous. And here's how you know it's dangerous. If you're listening to it, and then when you get around, let's say in the relationship podcast, you get around your spouse, you got a little edge on you. You got like, I'm better than you. Yeah, you don't. Yeah, hey, bro, it's time to change podcasts. Because it needs to be something that gives you life and that it feeds you.
Yeah.
That's what I want our show to be.
Right.
I want it to give you life, and I want you to know and be clear that wherever you are, if you're not happy about that, you can change your mind about it. And when you change your mind, you change your thoughts about it, you start speaking differently about it and doing different things differently, that's how your world will begin to get changed. Period.
Transformed by the renewing of your mind.
I think we're done. Like, subscribe, comment. Love y'all. The love of God. And always, man up.